Hey y'all, man, oh man, ladies, men and man and ladies. Guess what? Didn't I tell you we had some stuff to talk about the following week? Thank you. I am your host, LA. Thank you so much for viewing The Bases Are Loaded, where we talk about all the bases of sports, where we do this on a 3U basis. That's right, 3U, unapologetic, undeniable, and unrelenting, and not necessarily in that order. Mike Lowry, you know this. That's right, Mike Lowry. Boy, we had some big things happen in sports, and I tell you, it's been a very fruitful sports week for a lot of the young folks that we're going to talk about, getting in a little bit into the show. I'm going to talk about and touch some bases on some things that are happening that should be brought to our attention. And I'll get your opinions and feedback on it. And definitely make sure you're hitting like that subscribe button. And of course, give me your feedback. I love to hear from you folks. I definitely love to hear from you. All right, now in the headlines in sports, guess what? Doc Rivers, like I told you guys, I don't know if you've been watching, if you've been aware of this, Doc Rivers became the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. That's right, their third coach in the last just 2 years. Of course, he's coming off of a nice, we won't say a illustrious career, being, of course, the ex-coach of the 76ers, but he was let go this past spring, and they made some coaching changes in their organization as well. But they're still right now number third in the East, and guess what? The team he take over is number two in the East, which is, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks. And in his debut last night, his debut didn't go so well against, guess who? That's right, the reigning champions of last year of 2024, of course, the 23 NBA champions of last year, the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, he brought it. He and Giannis Antetokounmpo were going at it in that game. To point, I think the point differential between the both of them probably was maybe about 7 or 8 points. They both combined, of course, of over 60 points in that game, to the unlikely avail of of course, the Denver Nuggets. They were able to knock off the Milwaukee Bucks, and that kind of spoiled, of course, Doc Rivers, of course, his debut coming into the Milwaukee Bucks Stadium and coming into, of course, that arena. And we're going to see how their season is going to unfurl. We got a lot of basketball coming up because football is about to be getting slowly but surely getting to that point to where we're not going to have too much football anymore. But we'll talk about the USFL and how they've chance themselves right now. And we'll talk about that later on in the show. And of course, as the show progresses, right now, other headlines. Ex-guard Rondo, okay? Ex-guard Rondo was actually arrested the other night in Indiana on drug and gun charges. I don't know what's going on with that young man, but we'll, like I said to you before, and you've heard me say it, when I know, you'll know better. So stay tuned later on in the broadcast later on in the weeks to come, the coming weeks, and we'll let you know what's going on and how that's going to pan out. Okay. My Knicks, baby, the New York Knickerbockers. Yes, I said it. The Knicks, I can't believe I'm about to say it. The Knicks are on a 7. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 win streak, game win streak. They won. They just beat the Utah. They're actually getting ready to play the Utah Jazz to see if they can keep that streak going tonight at 7:30. Let's stay tuned. All my Knicks fans, I need you guys to get ready. We're going to be up in that garden. We got to give this thing. We got to keep these guys going, okay? Definitely, because we're loving this Knick Nation. Stand up, okay? Now, speaking of a nation, the Steelers. All my Steelers, Mike D, we're praying for you, brother. We want you to have a very speedy recovery. Ain't that right, Mike Lowry? We want to give our brother a nice, speedy recovery. I don't know if he's going to like this, though. I don't know if he's going to like this news, Mike Lowry. The Pittsburgh Steelers, yes, with all their woes of wondering whether or not they were going to allow or to keep, of course, their coach that's been there for the last 14 seasons, of course. They just hired, guess who? Atlanta. Previous coach that they just let go, Arthur Smith. They just hired him as, guess what? To my chagrin, and I mean, no pun intended on the grin part. They just hired ex-coach Arthur Smith to be their OC, their offensive coordinator. Don't think he did too well in Atlanta. So he's going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I guess you Steelers are supposed to be excited about that. Y'all let me know if y'all going to bring out your terrible towels and if that's synonymous with it being terrible. Okay, well, we'll stay tuned later on, and of course the next season, see how that's gonna pan out for you Steeler Nations. I know I wouldn't be too excited about that if I were you guys. Okay, and of course the tennis world, Coco. It had to happen, and inevitability had to happen. Coco went ahead and finally lost. Okay, a 12-game win streak was snapped, ironically, by Arina Sabalenka, which was the young lady that she actually beat for the U.S. Open this past summer. Okay, she went ahead and got her revenge, so to speak. And Sabalenka went on to win her second straight Australian Open. She couldn't be denied. She beat, of course, Qi Zhang of Japan, and she beat her in straight sets. So guess what? Congratulations to Miss Sabalenka for her second straight Australian win, keeping her at the world's number 2. Coco Gauff is currently ranked number 4. Folks, that's really good in the rankings, because for you guys that don't know, that's pretty much out of 1,000 rankings, okay? That's out of 1,000 people. They are ranked in the top 10. That's when you really are making the money, and the money is making the money for you, and you're not just competing, and it's based on your earnings, okay? It's just like golf. Speaking of golf, guess what? Ding dong. First time since 1991. Congratulations. Nick Dunlap, 20 years old amateur, okay? He just took on all the big names. Only one wasn't in that was Tiger. Was no El Tigre in that particular. The American Express Cup, he actually just won, and he took that crown. He's the first and youngest since 1991 to win, and not even on the pro circuit yet. So congratulations to that young man. We wish you well. We wish you well wishes, of course, and we look forward to seeing you in the coming years to come, because we're pretty sure you're probably, after this one, you're going to tell mom and dad, hey, mom, dad, I think I kind of like this golf thing that you had me going and swinging and learning about. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this for a full-time career. What do you think? Considering I just won $15 million. Yeah. Probably would be a good idea. All right. And also in NASCAR. That's right. I told you we cover all the bases of sports here, folks. NASCAR. Guess what? NASCAR. To meet 21-year-old Rajah Caruth. 21-year-old. He is out of 4. He is the only out of 4 black only NASCAR drivers. He is the youngest. He's only 21 years old, and he is a phenom already. He's going to be actually crashing those courses and setting records to come. We look forward to that young man's success. We wish you well. The bases are loaded are right behind you, I'm pretty sure. And pretty much the country is behind you. That youthful exuberance that you're going to exude, of course, on that court. That racetrack, of course. Okay, we wish you well. All right, so guess what? That's what time it is, folks. That's the headlines. So you know what that means? Yeah, baby. Are you ready? Are you ready for some football, baby? Ooh. AFC, NFC championships. The stage was set last week. I came to you guys with my picks. I remember I told you, don't you put me on your stick if I didn't pick what you picked. And if you pick what I didn't pick, then guess what? You might be on a stick, because I actually called it right, baby. I sure did. I'm going to pop the collar that I don't have right now. I'm popping a little bit, Mike Lowry, because I did call it. Did I not call it? I promise you I called it. I called it, and I kept calling it. And it didn't answer me back. So that let me know that I wasn't whack. Check it out, folks. The AFC Championship was a less than thrilling game. The AFC was, between the Kansas City Chiefs and that amazing quarterback that they have, the quarterback play of Lamar Jackson, and of course Pat Mahomes. Pat had been suspect for most of the year and season because of him having all of these so-called drops by his great passer receivers that are supposed to be catching this ball on a dime and on a tight rope, they were letting him down. In so much as they were actually losing games because of the drop passes. And an ill-advised, of course, lining up on the lineage and lining up on the gridiron and just getting bad plays called against them. But guess what? Didn't happen on last Sunday because the Kansas City Chiefs came to play. That defense, Spagnuolo had those boys ready. He had them ready to give that prevent defense that they were in, and they brought it to Lamar Jackson, which they could only do because that's what you were going to have to do. Surprisingly, Lamar didn't play as well as he could have and should have. And with that said, the winning quarterback, Pat Mahomes, was 30 for 39 with 241 yards and 1 touchdown in the day. Of course, Lamar, his losing efforts of 20 for 37, 272 yards, and 1 interception in that game, which, of course, to no avail for them. They are not moving on, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on as we get into more sports and leading up to the Super Bowl and what was happening. Now, I'll ask you guys right now, did Lamar play his best, or did the Kansas City Chiefs defense play its best? Love to hear your comments. Comment for me. I definitely want to hear it. Let's go to the NFC Championship. Oh my. I said it. I was not saying because I know I said it because I was there when I said it. I had picked them to win by 3 points. I told you folks it was going to be a close game, but I had no idea. Stay tuned to the Bases Are Loaded when we were loading up some of those little excerpts and some of the frontages when I'm on location. I like to be on location, Lowry. And I'm telling you guys, I was talking to those fans, and none of us, definitely not me, did I ever think that they were going to go up almost 21 points unanswered. In just the first half, the Detroit Lions were running through that first half. And what happened, folks? What happened? Because that game, and I called it, Mike Lowry, I told you they were going to win by 3 points, but I wasn't thinking it was, and I didn't pick the Detroit Lions, even though I am a Leo and I love the Lions, but I wasn't going with the Motown crew. What up, though? Wasn't going with them. I actually felt like Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant, was going to have a better game than what he did. But guess what? He proved me wrong in the second half, because the second half, folks, was a total different game. All right? I promise you that, just by simply the numbers. Brock Purdy was the winning quarterback that day, 20 for 31 of his passes, 267 yards, and 1 touchdown and 1 interception. But through the chagrin of course, of the faithful that stuck around, those Detroit Lions that were there, and they were there in full circle and regalia. They were there, baby. They had their whole stadium packed, Ford Stadium, and it was ready and rocking. And I thought that it was going to be as much lopsided score as it was, because I even mentioned it. I'm like, hey, I spoke too soon. We should have told Brock Purdy that, because Brock Purdy started jumping back, and he had over 10 yards where he rushed for over 10 carries that he rushed for over 20 yards in that game. He started using his legs, and that's the reason why they went ahead and won that game in raw fashion. And Mr. Purdy, guess what? He's not Mr. Irrelevant anymore. He's not irrelevant to nobody, no stretch of the imagination. You better call the bank, because they're going to have to pay that young man next year, because I got a feeling he's coming off of his waivers, and he's going to be, guess what, a free agent. They're going to have to pay him to keep him. All right? I promise you that. So with that said, what happened, Lions fans? You know, your coach, hey, he's smart. He's daring. Yeah, but does truth a dare? Does it always let you win? Let's ask Mr. Hare, Mike Lowry. What happened? They went for it on 4th down at least 8 times in that game. And guess what? They only got 4 out of them. 4 out of the 8 that they were able to convert. Folks, why not just kick a field goal? Kick a field goal. Hey, are you liking the Bases Are Loaded? Do me a favor. Hit that like and subscribe button and tell some more people about me. It keeps me coming and keeps you happy and keeps me smiling. Thank you. So yeah, what happened, folks? Come on, kick a field goal. kick a field goal, and guess what? You at least tie the game, because guess what you ended up losing by? A field goal. Dan Gilbert, guess what, man? It's nothing wrong with being daring. Yes, you make your team. I played football. I know I would love a coach like that. I'd go through a brick wall for him. But it does come a time where you do need to use a little bit of chess as opposed to checkers when playing football. Because the momentum switches, you can't be doing the same thing. You're going to end up in stitches. And that's exactly what happened to you guys. You guys had a deflating loss because you were up 21. You were up 17 points at the half. You had no business losing that game. So, folks, out there, all my Detroit fans, okay, let me know in the comments. Did you guys give that game away? Or did Brock Purdy really show out and show up and ended up beating you? I would love to know what you've got to say about it. Like and subscribe. Leave me those messages in the comments, and we'll talk about it the next week when we're getting up close up to the Super Bowl. All right? All right, until then, when I know, you'll know better. Hello, and thank you for watching Bases Are Loaded. This show is brought to you by Hot and Saucy. Flavor over heat.